I'm Branisha Gentle and welcome back to another episode of The Gentle Perspective. Please click the subscribe button below, leave a like, and of course, feel free to comment. In this episode, I'll be talking to Jahnoy Leith, Manager of Regulation and Policy at the Jamaica Special Economic Zone Authority. One highlighting the economic standpoint of Belize. This time around, we'll be comparing and contrasting the various aspects between Belize and Jamaica within the very same economic context. In respect to managing its expenditure, and similarly to Belize, Jamaica introduced its own version of the COVID relief funds. However, in doing so, the thought process may have been short in coming. Here's what Mr. Leith had to say on that.
Currently, what I think we could have done is to think more along the lines of the long run instead of the short run. The problem that I realized that we had as relates to the time that COVID came about and the climate of Jamaica, speaking the political climate, is the fact that elections were right around the corner. It was supposed to be called earlier than it was actually, but because of COVID is why it was called that late. But because of that, the government mostly focused on PR and how to get the citizens to stay in their favor, in a sense, and not the long run of what will happen after election. So it's a case where they implemented policies and different legislations as it relates to COVID and the citizens in order to just appease the citizens per se. So for example, they developed the COVID fund. I don't think we thought that through completely. Okay. And to this date, a lot of persons have yet to receive the amount of funds as it relates to how much they would get and stuff like that. But that in itself is somewhat of like a problem now when we're looking back at it. So more stuff could have been done, but unfortunately, that was just how it is.
Sound familiar, Cho? Like Jamaica, the government of Belize was ardent in its efforts to tackle the COVID crisis. But with tourism, for example, being a paramount revenue earner for both countries, what exactly could have been alternatives to reducing the gross domestic profit of both countries without taxation or salary cuts?
What I think we could take into consideration is not just promote this thing that we have going on, which is grow what we eat what we grow, but actually find some way to implement an easier purchase of these things. Because as much as we promote grow what we eat what we grow, in comparison to a US company based on what we normally do in economics, because they can supply more, they can supply a vast amount at a less cost in comparison to our local farmers who can't supply that much. So therefore, their costs and overheads tend to be a bit higher, which reflects in their prices. What we could do is find some form of way to subsidize those, like prices or cost for raw material or upkeeps of pesticides, stuff like that. See how best we can assist the farmers in lowering their prices to make them a bit more attractive to the Jamaican market. That way, Jamaican persons would then be more inclined to purchasing from the local farmers or even local service providers.
Interestingly enough, and in line with the Grow Where You Eat movement, the Ministry of Rural Transformation, Community Development, Labor and Local Government has since revived the production of rice in the Toledo district. This is in an effort to stimulate income and improve the livelihood of farmers and their families. This actually equates to job creation. Now shifting to the dynamic of both the Jamaican and the Belizean currency, I asked Mr. Leith what exactly can Belize or any other CARICOM entity consider to maintain its currency strength. This is on the premise of the Jamaican dollar transitioning over the years from a 5-to-1 USD ratio back in 1987 to now a whopping $150 to 1 USD ratio, and it is still quite unstable.
The thing is, what we have to think about is how we garner loans from international institutions. So like IMF and OECD, how we get loans from them, how we repay those loans, because the stipulation that they set for us to repay the loans sometimes aren't in the best interest of us as a country, to be completely honest. But we're in need, so we have to get it from them. We have to really focus on internals first. Get things easily accessible internally before thinking external, because based on our debt ratio is one of the reasons why our economic is how it is and how inflation affects the dollar.
On that note, Belize and Jamaica are two peas in a pod for many aspects of its economic and financial stability. But guess what? How we coordinate regionally may very well be the dawn of a new day for stronger economic stability. But that's just the gentle perspective. Please subscribe, click the bell icon to receive notifications of new episodes, and feel free to comment. Until next time, stay safe.